Big 1-2 here on 365 Sports, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack. I'm Paul Catalina alongside JD Piquel. And look, if you're an Iowa State fan, you're coming to Waco this weekend, you want a place to go for game day, Shorty's Pizza Shack, 12th and Bagby, Sikkim sauce wings. Maybe get you a nice all meats pizza. Oh, good stuff, JD.
Got to do game day right. Got to do game day
Got to do that there. Believe me, pizza by the slice. Great drink specials. Boone's Farm.
It's a game of phases. It's a game of phases. In the first phase of game day, Shorty's Pizza Shack.
Exactly. There you go. First phase, maybe even your last phase. I mean, it's going to be open.
Bookends.
It's a 2:30 kickoff, so you can go there twice if you wanted to.
If you're playing your cards right.
Yeah, if you do.
Yeah.
And they might have, I don't know, the ambulance might be out there. They have a Shorty's ambulance. You've seen it, right?
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah. The ambulance might be out there at game day, so you might be able to stumble upon them and scam a slice of pizza off them.
Is it serviceable? Is that ambulance serviceable?
I mean, for pizza, not for humans.
Gotcha. But in a pinch, maybe.
If you had to.
Yeah.
Like Apocalypse, maybe they got to draft the Shorty's ambulance back into people service and not just pizza. But they've got that there at Shorty's Pizza Shack. JD, an interesting week in the Big 12. A lot of games that, again, aren't going to go down in the annals of Big 12 history, but we're starting to see teams show kind of who they are, and that's interesting as we go into the second week of conference play. Some teams are still playing non-conference games. Iowa State, UNLV. Baylor's got one coming up with BYU, so it's not exactly as 3 games and then, conference and then nothing. 2 games, some people are in conference. Oklahoma, Nebraska was an interesting game, but we'll go through those. And it was an interesting week, and let's start with that Oklahoma-Nebraska game. Oklahoma, I'm not sure if they're not as good as we think that they are, or if they're not entertained yet, so they're not engaged, because they almost let Tulane come back. Nebraska, from what we've seen of them, should not have been on the field with Oklahoma, but stayed there. And the only reason maybe Oklahoma didn't lose that game is Nebraska just simply not good enough to beat them when they get the opportunities.
The thing that Oklahoma has going for them to this point in the schedule is they have more talent than everybody they're playing against. And that goes without saying for Nebraska, goes without saying for Tulane. But the thing with Oklahoma, you can't sleepwalk and beat Iowa State. You can't sleepwalk and beat a TCU. You can't decide, okay, we're going to get it going here in the third quarter. And so the thing that concerns me is that's a culture thing. You can't decide when you're going to turn it on and off. That's a player thing. That's like a player leadership thing. Lincoln Riley can only do so much. You can drop all the touchdowns in the world you want, but when your guys aren't feeling, like you said, entertained or feeling like they have the juice to go and do it, it's a big problem. And so I'm not so sure that when they do play a Big 12 opponent that maybe doesn't have their attention, let's say a Texas Tech or a Kansas State, which has been the case the last several years. I'm very interested to see, okay, when is it going to click for you? And I think a lot of that lies with Spencer Rattler, because we've seen him. His stats are still good. His QBR between his 2 FBS opponents is like 74, which is really average for someone who we were all deeming the Heisman Trophy winner before this whole thing even started. So a lot, I think, is still left to be desired if you're Oklahoma, and I want to see them kick it into gear in Big 12 play.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're really going to have to. And this is not a league that's got a lot of separation anymore. I think that's something we saw this week. West Virginia beats Virginia Tech. That's a heck of a non-conference win. Now, granted, I'm going to say this. This show is called the Big 1-2 and not the Big ACC or but right now the ACC is the ACC.
Yeah.
Because it's not good.
Yeah.
And I don't know honestly, I cannot tell you, and this includes Clemson, who is good in that conference. I cannot tell you who's a team that should strike fear in the hearts of anyone yet in that conference, because it's bad. But West Virginia needed a win like that. It'd been a long time since they'd beaten Virginia Tech, which is a rival for them. And they don't like the Hokies. They don't like it at all. And dude, that's a huge win for them. And Jarrett Dagey, again, he is not ever going to have a game, I think, where people are like, holy crap, that was unbelievable. But he was steady, he was serviceable, and the defense held off Virginia Tech's late run.
Absolutely, and I love the way that West Virginia utilized Dagey in this game. They didn't ask him to be your game breaker. They didn't ask him to be the one that this game hinges on. Just ran the ball well, played great defense, had something like 6 sacks against Virginia Tech. I honestly picked Virginia Tech going into this game because I saw them play so well against UNC, and before the season started, we're like, okay, well, UNC is one of the best offenses in the country. Sam Howell, another guy that we were giving postseason accolades to before this whole thing even started. And so for that reason, I was like, okay, Vatek's going to bring the juice on defense. And credit to West Virginia. I mean, they ran the ball seemingly at will. I think they really have something there in Letty Brown. And again, like I said, that front seven is ferocious. Made Braxton Burmeister uncomfortable all day long. Who's a decent quarterback in his own right, fairly mobile guy. So to get after him and sack him 6 times, I was really impressed with them. That was, I think, the game of the week, or I should say, the win of the week in the Big 12 to me.
Yeah. All right, JD, I know that Nevada is not a team that most people think of as being any great shakes, but they've developed some quarterbacks over the year. Colin Kaepernick was one of them. But now they've got Carson Strong, a guy a lot of people think is going to be a high pick in next year's NFL draft. Kansas State thoroughly dominated them, and this is the third game in the row that Kansas State has controlled, and this time they didn't have Skylar Thompson. Will Howard went out there and played a really good game. Kansas State's not going anywhere.
They've made it extremely clear who they want to be. And not just this season, but seasons before. They're going to run the ball really well. They're going to ask their quarterback to be involved in the run game. They're going to play just lights-out defense. And so for them to they play at home and defend home turf the way they did against a guy who's probably, like you said, going to be a high pick in the NFL draft. There's a lot to be excited about with Kansas State because I think they were kind of the hot pick from a lot of like the national media to go in and upset Kansas State. Like that was kind of the game that people were keeping a close eye on. And so for them to just not even leave any doubt, got to be really encouraged, especially no Skylar Thompson. I mean, obviously hope he can get back. Timetable from what we understand is indefinite, but they said he'll come back at some point. So for Will Howard to step in there and look poised, I mean, there were a lot of times last year he did not look poised at all. And so
he was a true freshman that I think came early.
He's young.
So he came to Kansas State early. He was in there in Manhattan. He looked like a true freshman.
Yeah.
He looked like a true freshman and a guy who was totally expecting to redshirt. You know, when he showed up, I'm going to redshirt. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, hey, by the way, Skylar Thompson's hurt. Hey, I know that you should be at your senior prom right now, but you're in charge.
Right. Yeah. He just started shaving his face. And they're like, hey, can you go play quarterback for us? He's like, I guess so. But I mean, the straw that stirs this drink, Deuce Vaughn's going to be how they live and die offensively. I mean, they have a lot of options when it comes to running the football. When he's going, they have a really good chance to win. 127 yards this week, 23 carries. I mean, even got him involved in the pass game with that one catch for 16 yards. They don't have to do a lot through the air. If they can play ahead of the game and kind of dictate their own tempo, they're in really good shape. I worry about them when they get into a track meet with a team like we just talked about. If Oklahoma can somehow get out ahead of them, and maybe I'm going to eat my words here because of the way that game went a year ago, but if they get into a track meet, I worry about their ability to score when they can't kind of play their ground and pound offense. But so far, so good if you're a Kansas State fan.
Yeah, they play with a lead very well. Not every team does play with the lead very well. A lot of teams can lose it very easily. That's part of the problem, I think, with a spread offense is it's not an offense that's necessarily impervious to playing with the lead. The offense, when you ground and pound, it's pretty tough to if you wind up with a big lead, if you wind up with a 21-point lead in that offense, it's really, really tough to come back because if they get the ball back, even the drives they don't score, they're going to hold the ball for 5 minutes.
Oh, 100%. And just decreases your possessions, decreases the bullet in your gun. And I say that about Oklahoma, and I mean, that was literally the scenario a year ago where Oklahoma was up and Kansas State came back. But bottom line, I think the trend, like you were talking about, stays the same.
Again, it's not an offense that's built to come back, but they can. If you got the right things, things have to happen for you.
Sure.
But that's how it is in football, even if we're winning by 45. Speaking of a team that put up 45 this week, Baylor, 45-7 over Kansas. 14-7 at halftime, although aside from that one Kansas offensive drive, that was all Kansas showed. Baylor was dominating that first half, but just not showing it on the scoreboard. What we've seen so far against, again, lesser opponents in the first 3 games, though, is that this Jeff Grimes offense and Eric Mateos offensive line are coming along very, very well. Now, I don't want to put too many eggs in the basket of everything's fixed because they haven't played anybody. Iowa State comes up this week, but they could not knock people off the ball like that last year. They could not run the ball like that even close no matter who they were playing. And I know it was all Big 12 opponents, but they could not beat anybody like that last year. It was impossible for them to do it. Now they're running the ball on 4th and 3 and getting first downs. They can do that. They couldn't run the ball on 4th and 3 inches. They could not do it. That is a good sign for this team going forward, and things are taking hold in Waco, and I think they're a little bit scary to teams that may not have thought that they were going to be a factor this year.
And they should be. They should be the way they've played so far, and also the way their schedule is set up to where they get to ease into their schedule a little bit to have Texas State, Texas Southern, and now Kansas, and now jump into the big boys play with Iowa State. You may have a quarterback if you're Baylor. I know the sample size is really iffy and unreliable, and the competition is pretty watered down, but 19 of 23 is hard to do against anybody. I mean, even routes on air, 19 of 23 is still sort of up for grabs. But so Gary Bohannon, you got to be excited about him and the way he's progressed in this offense and not asked him to do a ton, but done enough. And then you have two really great backs. I mean, regardless, like you said, of who you're playing, to have two guys go for over 100 yards in nearly all three games. Ebner had, I think, 72 in the game against Kansas, and probably could have gone over 100 if they fed him more. But you have two great options at tailback, and so that I think is the most encouraging thing if you're Baylor.
Well, and he also has over 100 yards because they're throwing him the ball too.
Yeah,
so it's total yards are up. I'll say this about Gary Bohannon. People did not realize how many little nagging injuries he was dealing with over in 2019 when Charlie Brewer got hurt and he didn't come in. Or look, if you watch the Big 12 championship, he came in, led a touchdown drive.
Yeah,
and then he got hurt. He was already hurting, got hurt more because that Oklahoma defense was punishing. Mm-hmm. And Jacob Zeno came in, threw one fantastic pass, and everybody thought well, that's the guy of the future, not Gary Bohannon. But I think it's always been Gary Bohannon. They never had a reason to bench Charlie Brewer before, and until last year, and then Gary Bohannon's dealing with injuries, and there's COVID, and there was some personal stuff he had to deal with back home. He came out in spring and made a case, and then kept making that same case into the fall. He's their guy. That's it. I might be wrong. I might have been wrong when I said I don't know if the quarterback who starts the season, finishes the season, and that's not based on injury. I mean, people get hurt. But I thought maybe the quarterback who was going to start at the end of the season was maybe not playing yet. No, I don't think that anymore. I think Gary Bohannon's the guy. I think he's got a chokehold on the job. I don't think the other players are going to see the field unless he is hurt or they're winning by a lot, like has been the case the first these last 2 weeks where they're winning by a lot, and Zeno and Chapin have gotten some time under center in mop-up duty. But Gary Bohannon's taking control, and Iowa State comes in this week. That's a lot closer matchup, and it's a lot more even. This is two teams play good defense, run the ball. It's going to be a tough one for either team now in Waco on Saturday.
It sort of feels like whoever gets the lead first. It kind of feels like, okay, if you can play with the lead, and like we talked about with Kansas State, if you can dictate the tempo, kind of control the game how you want to control the game, and force the opponent to try and press and get out of their rhythm offensively, you have a really good chance. And so far we've seen Iowa State play Iowa, and obviously Iowa's a tougher team than probably all three of the teams combined in Baylor's schedule. And so we, are kind of still deciphering that a little bit. But Iowa State showed very much when they have to press, when they have to try and play from behind and try to, stretch the field vertically, they have some problems. They have some kinks in the armor. And so I'm excited to see what this Baylor defense is going to do against them. Backtracking a little bit to your point about Gary Bohannon, his role up until this point was to be that battering ram, to come in, run quarterback power, run quarterback zone read. And so now that he's actually playing quarterback, true quarterback, if they can protect him enough to where they're not asking him to carry it 20 times a game, I really think Baylor has a good shot in this game. I really think Baylor's going to be able to make something happen, especially at home.
He's done everything he's been asked to do ever since he's been at Baylor, and sometimes they just weren't asking him to do a lot. Yeah. So if you don't ask a lot of someone, that's what you're building it, and that's part of that's coaching and making sure they're ready. Okay, before we get into the games of the week that last week didn't really matter, these non-conference blowouts, another non-conference game was really close on the blue turf in Boise. Oklahoma State nudges out 21-20, and I will say Boise State got hosed by an inadvertent whistle. Hosed. Now, that's not Oklahoma State's fault.
Yeah.
That wasn't anything that they did. They've got problems on offense. They are not what they were. Although Verdell, the running back, really, really good.
You mean Warren, I think it's yours. Yeah.
Sorry, Verdell is Oregon.
Yeah.
Sorry, different old school.
Both of them lit it up.
Yeah. Warren, really good game, 200 yards. They can ride him, but this is an Oklahoma State team that's been used to over the years of putting a lot of points up on the board, putting up 37, 38, 42 points in the game. This is a team that's not going to do that very much. Spencer Sanders has not developed to the point. He's still a heck of an athlete, but they're essentially running the option right now. I mean, they're not asking him to throw the ball a lot. I don't think that's what they thought they had when they envisioned him coming in. They're good on defense, though, which a lot of the teams in this conference all of a sudden are.
Yeah.
Good on defense. Kansas State, good on defense. Iowa State, good on defense. Baylor, good on defense. Oklahoma State, good on defense. Oklahoma's pretty good on defense. TCU's good on defense. West Virginia's good on defense.
Yeah.
So it's not so strange anymore to see good defense in the Big 12. But Oklahoma State has some issues they've got to work on. I don't know if they've got the offensive horses anymore to contend for the conference crown, but they're going to make it hard on everybody defensively every week.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking to just the makeup of the Big 12, it's funny because Dave Aranda was speaking during Big 12 Media Day. Hey, it's starting to look more and more like the Big 10 in that way. You're going double tight, you're playing good defense. We're seeing as a product of that more game managers, I think, where before this was the quarterback league where you're going to throw for 300, 400 yards a game, and that was just what you came to the Big 12 to do. Going back to Oklahoma State, I'm with you. I think there's probably a matter of time and only so much you can put up with if you're an Oklahoma State fan until you go to Shane Illingworth, because you have good talent still in this receiving core. You don't have the talent you had before with Tylan Wallace and Dylan Stoner. You still have guys that probably need to get the football more. And so 32 carries for your running back is great. So, I mean, he still had 6.8 yards a pop, over 200 yards, like had a day. I don't think you can lean on that. And so when Spencer Sanders doesn't have that and they're down by 2 scores, they say, okay, well, Spencer, we love you. You're a great athlete, but right now, Shane gives us the best chance in this ballgame to come back. And so I'm wondering when that will happen. Didn't happen in this game, obviously, and a little confused why Boise State wouldn't get the edge there with the inadvertent whistle on the blue turf, but, is what it is.
Picked up a fumble
to
the house, blew the whistle at some point during that time. And so, officiating is an issue across the country. Part of it is there's like NFL and college. They've made too many rules.
Yeah.
There's too many rules.
Yeah.
And then they have all these things to back up to make sure, but they don't use them right.
Mm-hmm.
For example, instant replay can happen so fast right now. Do we really need to go to like a whole convention of officials, or can we just have a guy go, it's 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line. There was no holding on that play. Go.
How hard was that?
Yeah.
It'll be done easy.
Yeah. We just had a little Bluetooth headset right there.
It's not hard. It's not hard.
Yeah. That was not clipping. Go.
Done.
Not targeting.
Play on.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Move on from that. Also, get rid of that stupid targeting rule where they get ejected the first time they do.
Oh, yeah. We need to. We could do a whole show on that.
First of all, it slows down the game ridiculously. Oh, we could do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Slows down the game ridiculously and changes games for the worse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
All right. Now the other games this week, Texas Tech rolls over FIU 54-21. Texas 58, Rice nothing. In an old Southwest Conference matchup, and Iowa State shows some offense beating UNLV 48-3. So those games went exactly as planned. There's not much for us to break down in them. I don't know. I don't even want to tell you what they mean for their opponents next week.
Yeah.
Because to me, it doesn't honestly mean that much when you do exactly that. Like we didn't spend a lot of time on Baylor and Texas Southern.
Yeah. This is what it is.
Yes. What happened.
Happened. We don't even talk about it too much.
So.
Tyler Shuck is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to see him kind of finding a stride because, like we talk about each week, he is essentially what Matt Wells' job rides on.
What do they go to if Tyler Shuck doesn't work out?
I don't know.
What's the backup plan there?
Yeah, I don't know if you have one. I think you've really committed to Tyler Shuck at this point. Yeah. And so when he's on, he's on.
And Texas Tech has not had an identity in the whole span of Matt Wells' career. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's a little bit troubling, if he doesn't do well. But right now, Texas Tech, they win again.
Holding water.
Holding water.
Defense picked them up against Houston, and maybe you hope they could develop some confidence and be able to carry that throughout the rest of their schedule, or at least into some important games. But if Tyler Shuck's on, they're okay. If not, you got problems.
Yeah, but they've beaten Houston, Stephen F. Austin, and FIU.
Yep.
So that's not exactly Alabama, Michigan, and Florida. That's not what they've done. So we'll see what happens down the line as they get into conference. All right, let's go to the first break here. When we come back, we'll look ahead to this week in the Big 12. Some really intriguing matchups and some really even matchups and stuff that maybe a month ago we'd have thought weren't going to work out this way, but have worked out completely differently. This is the Big 1-2 on 365 Sports, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th at Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza, great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by. Welcome back into the Big 1-2 here on 365 Sports, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. A game day must here in Waco. Trying Try the Sikkim sauce wings. JD still hasn't been able to do it.
I haven't been able to do it. But I've been tempted every single time you mentioned that to be like, all right, well, I'm going to get it right now.
I just need to get Kyle to bring some over.
Kyle.
One of the owners of Short.
Oh, okay. Okay.
During the big one, too, just bring over some pizza and some Sikkim sauce wings. That way people can see it.
Yeah.
That people can see it and they'll be enticed.
I don't want to be high maintenance, but if that's what it takes, I'm more than happy to pitch for that.
I think we have enough cameras in the studio where we could have just the pizza cam for that show.
I think that would.
We could ask the pizza what it thinks about that.
I think that would do great. I would love to hear opinions.
Hey, pizza, what do you think about Texas this week? See what the pizza thinks. I don't know.
That'd be good.
Is anybody else doing a sports talk show where they ask pizza opinions? No, it would make us unique.
I'm in for it. It hasn't happened yet. I think content that nobody can get.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else is talking to actual pizza for opinions. Okay, this week in the Big 12, JD, let's go chronologically through the times they're going to play.
Beautiful.
Texas and Texas Tech. This is, for both these teams, they really need to show out. Tech probably should have won this game last year. They really should have. But Sam Ehlinger is a human who exists on planet Earth and made sure it didn't happen. But if there's no Sam Ehlinger last year, Tech probably wins this game. A defining win for Matt Wells, even in the COVID year, that could have, gotten some momentum for that program. This is a huge game for Texas Tech. It's not so much for Texas, in my opinion. Again, Steve Sarkisian still trying to find his way. I think, though, for Casey Thompson at quarterback, to have a second good week in a row would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing to me is, can you please figure out a quarterback if you're Texas? Because you've shown to this point in the season, you're not married to a quarterback. And Hudson Card is still playing. And so from Casey Thompson, I'm saying, okay, am I the starter or am I not the starter? And I think a win against a team like Texas Tech, Big 12 play, like that would be huge, I think, for morale, for his confidence, for Steve Sarkisian's confidence. On the flip side, if you lose to Texas Tech, if you're Steve Sarkisian in the first Big 12 game for you at Texas, I think that really gives you a problem with boosters. And there's Texas is a place that we've seen the leash is usually pretty short, especially in that first year for him where they're still trying to test his salt. If he won the Arkansas game, maybe he gets a little more leeway. But for Texas, I think there's a lot riding on this, especially because it's in Austin. But no, to the same token, Texas Tech, it feels like they're, a game here, a game there before Matt Wells gets the axe. And so we'll see.
And look, Steve Sarkisian's got plenty of leash right now to do what he needs to do, I think. The problem is you don't want to get people mad at you in year one where you have like an unforgivable loss.
Yes.
You just don't want to have that. And unfortunately for Steve Sarkisian, Arkansas is unforgivable in that nobody who's at the school now remembers Texas playing Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say from a bowl game here, there in their lifetime, or they had a non-conference series, a decade ago or so ago. Mm-hmm. But the big money people who pay for Steve Sarkisian in that program, they remember Texas and Arkansas. They remember that being one of the big rivalries. They remember that being one of the games of the century. Richard Nixon showed up at that game, Texas and Arkansas, in the 70s. They remember that, and it still makes them mad. So, they got to, all those billionaires got to see Jerry Jones all happy on the sideline. And believe me, they're not happy about it in Austin. That one will sting for a while for Steve Sarkisian, even though he may not feel it necessarily because, again, he got the job for a reason. There's no thought in my head that believes that whether Tom Herman, Steve Sarkisian, or Darryl Royal was the coach, that Texas team was losing to Arkansas last Saturday. And they went out, beat Rice like they should have, and beat them handily, shut them out 58-0. I just don't know if that tells us anything about Texas. And very curious to see how can Texas Tech have a defining win for Matt Wells and move ahead. Texas probably wins this game. Texas has more talent than Texas Tech right now, but these two teams weren't separated by more than a couple of points last year, and not a whole heck of a lot has changed for either one.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's a program-defining win, career-defining win at Texas Tech for Matt Wells. The thing I think that I go back to at Texas is you're not supposed to lose to Texas Tech if you're Texas. Like, they don't expect you to lose to Texas Tech. And so when I say that he doesn't have enough leeway, or how much leeway does he get, I think you have a certain number of dings. Like, you have a certain number of mulligans that you get to use. And so if you lose Texas Tech, that is a mulligan you are losing, in my mind at least. So, if he loses this game, obviously he's not getting fired. He's going to have time, I would say 2 to 3 years, depending on how things play out. But then they need to win this game to just get some belief around this program and believe, okay, this is going to head the right direction. We beat Texas Tech here at Texas.
Actually, this is my favorite game of the week in the Big 12. SMU and TCU. Tanner Mordecai, Midway High School here in Waco, off to a great start through the Hail Mary to win the game. The other day, I did all of Tanner's high school games, so I feel a little bit of ownership in that, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I watched him lead Midway to the state championship game. They lost that game in Dallas. But this is a game that's going to be tough for TCU. SMU can score and almost score it well. TCU's offense is looking pretty good with Zach Evans. Defense at SMU improved. Jim Leavitt, now the defensive coordinator, former head coach at USF, who the only time they've ever been good in their program's history was because Jim Leavitt did that there. So an interesting game, and I think this one, to me, because of the rivalry, is a straight toss-up.
Yeah, it's virtually a home game for both teams. Like, it'll be at TCU, but all the fans that care about football at SMU are going to be at this game. This game comes down to exactly what you said. Can Zach Evans be your bell cow at TCU? Can you just hand him the ball and say, all right, big fella, get us 4 yards a pop, get us 5 yards a pop, break one for 15, 16, just wear down that defense? Because I think if you completely depend on Max Duggan, then it becomes, like you said, it kind of becomes a toss-up of, okay, is he the most accurate? He's a gamer for sure, but he's not necessarily going to be, you're not going to take him to a county fair and say, all right, go win us a stuffed animal. He's not going to be that kind of accuracy. But Tanner Mordecai, Oklahoma transfer, he's a stud. I'm really excited to see what SMU's, I guess, it'll be a great litmus test for us about SMU as well as it is for TCU. Speaking of personal stake in this one, I have a Cornell grad transfer playing opposite of Grant Calcaterra, big Tommy McIntyre. Okay. This is 6th year of college football, so rooting for the big guy to make something happen against TCU. I'm picking TCU in this one, though, personally.
All right.
Do you have a pick in this one?
I'm picking SMU.
Okay. All right.
I'm picking SMU.
Love it.
Yeah. I'm picking SMU. I don't know. I got a feeling.
One of us will be right. That's the good news.
Exactly.
We won't go over on the big one, too. That's great.
All right. Iowa State and Baylor, 2:30 kickoff here in Waco. This game, a month ago, I told you, look, this is Iowa State's game. Baylor needs to be respectable in it and show some growth. And right now, based on the way these two teams are playing, Baylor's played better on offense. And I know Iowa State's, they did not play well on offense in the first game against Northern Iowa. They absolutely got shoved around by Iowa. Of course, a big win against UNLV, which they should have done against the Run and Rebs there in Vegas. But bottom line is, these are two teams that run similar systems, that have similar styles of play, that want to do the same things. Maybe the wide zone compared to what Iowa State's running is different schematically slightly.
Sure.
But the overall goal is control the clock, pound, play actions and waggles and stuff like that, and see where you are at the end of the day. But there's gonna be some bloody noses in Waco on Saturday.
A lot of black and blue shoulders, a lot of shoulder pads popping. It's funny because last year you think about Baylor was really like a score within this game, like a bad Charlie Brewer interception away from winning this game.
If Squirrel Williams doesn't get hurt
in
this game, Iowa State had no answer for him.
Oh, 1,000%.
And maybe Baylor pulls off a very unlikely upset in Ames last year.
Yeah, in Ames. And for Brock Purdy, this is the same defense you played a season ago, virtually, against the same offense with all the guys coming back, where you threw 3 picks and really, in a lot of ways, kind of got exposed. People were saying he was a first-round pick before that game, and then that kind of became like a meme of sorts in Twitter. I mean, Twitter's garbage, but that was essentially the way it was going. So I'm interested to see, how does Brock Purdy bounce back from that a season ago? And then for Baylor, how do you follow up that performance? And how much do you really have Brock Purdy's number? Because they won that game a season ago with one good offensive performance that season. Virtually Baylor had nothing offensively a year ago. So now they have identity, have some sort of direction, it feels like. So I'm really excited to see what Baylor has.
This is also a budding rivalry in the Big 12. Yep. These two fan bases, I don't want to say they don't like each other, but they do like beating each other. And part of it is, I think, that Iowa State felt in 2019 that they were next and this was their time to make a run at the Big 12 title, and that Baylor team under Matt Rule denied them. And after that, it's like, no, you guys were supposed to be bad for a little while. It was our turn, and you cut in line.
Yeah,
I think that's the fan base talking. That's not football reality talking. It was just Matt Rule did a fantastic job. They beat Iowa State in the last-second field goal in 2019. Last year's game in Ames was fantastic. I expect nothing less from this one. I think it'll be a really good game and a tough fought. You're looking at at best a 27-24 kind of a game to me. Like that's if both teams' offenses are humming.
Yeah. If they can force Brock Purdy to be a passer, I really think Baylor pulls this out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the homer talking, but I think that it's going to be really close, and I truly believe Baylor's going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough. All right, Kansas and Duke at 3 o'clock. Mike Krzyzewski's last year. Bill Self got a team full of transfers that really can run the floor well. Oh, wait. No, this is a football game, not a basketball game. This will be a great basketball game. This will not be a very good football game. David Cutcliffe clearly has his program a little further along at Duke because he's been there longer, but I don't know if this is a game you want to turn on unless you want to see them talk about Kansas and Duke playing each other in basketball during some cutaways.
No, basketball matchup, all for it. Must-see TV. For football, on the road at Duke, like Duke's not a phenomenal football team, but they're going to beat Kansas, right? Like they're 2-1. They had a bad loss start of the year. They're going to beat Kansas.
Yeah, they're going to beat Kansas. So, and they're in the AC conference right now. That's the ACC.
Yeah.
Kansas State and Oklahoma State, defensive battle in Stillwater this week. I think this one's going to be, again, probably come down to the fourth quarter. I think they're very evenly matched. Might come down to which quarterback can make a play.
Yeah.
Because you've got good running backs. So which quarterback can make a play when your running back gets stuffed, if that does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm interested to see how much does the 32 carries wear on your back for Oklahoma State, because that's a lot of mileage to put on anybody. So to bounce back from 32 carries the week before and try and, come back against the defense like Kansas State, that's not going to be a pleasant experience. And so L.D. Brown will have to come and probably share that load a little bit for Oklahoma State. If this game is in Manhattan, I think I feel very differently about it. I think Kansas State wipes the floor with them if it's in Manhattan, truthfully. Being in Stillwater, Will Howard going to be the guy? How does he respond being on the road in a ruckus environment? If he can be serviceable, if he can keep from making that big mistake, I think Kansas State wins this game.
Yeah, I think Kansas State just has a little bit more right now than Oklahoma State does. But it's a little bit. And I think it maybe comes down to Will Howard might be a little bit better than Spencer Sanders right now, which I would not have said. I thought by now Spencer Sanders would be a dude in the Big 12. 2 years ago, he looked like he was headed that way. And then really from the second half against Baylor in 2019 on, it's been for him. So I don't know. They're hard to get a read on Oklahoma State. I think Chris Kleiman's got what he's going on at Kansas State. Dude won national titles at the FCS level at North Dakota State because he knows how to run a program, and his vision is being seen in Kansas State. Does this mean they're going to win a national title at K-State? Probably not, because it's never happened before. But they're going to prepare at that level. Yeah. They're going to have national championship level preparation.
Yeah.
Do they have national championship level talent? Well, not right now. But they certainly will prepare at a level that is going to have them in pretty much every game, because that's what he does.
And it's funny you talk about Spencer Sanders versus Will Howard, because if you talk about just, go out there, do quarterback drills, take a 3-step drop, throw the ball, Spencer Sanders probably looks better in a T-shirt and shirts than Will Howard would, I would imagine. But in terms of how they utilize their players and use what they have offensively and find a way to make that work for them, just speaks to the coaching. And I think that ultimately will be the difference, just being able to put guys in the right place to be successful.
Yeah. West Virginia and Oklahoma, and this might be the I think Iowa State and Baylor is probably the most evenly matched game. This is going to be one that's going to be kind of fun to watch. Is West Virginia, have they taken steps forward to where they can contend with Oklahoma? Will Oklahoma wake up and go, wait a minute, we're Oklahoma. Let's go do this. Now, part of it, we talked about this on Sick of 365 Radio. Craig Smoke brought up, maybe this is what happens when you don't have a pretty much polished transfer quarterback step in, like Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts. When you have a guy you brought up, this is the growing pains. This is Spencer Rattler's second year starting. All those other guys had other stops along the way to kind of mature. Spencer Rattler, in his second year starting, maybe it's growing pains a little bit, but he has got to be Spencer Rattler from minute 1 to minute 60. He has not done that this season yet.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see which Oklahoma shows up, because you think this would be the time where it's Big 12 play, because they started out 0-2 a year ago and then kicked it up and were able to finish with a New Year's Six Bowl victory. They can't afford to have a letdown against this West Virginia team, because what they have on defense is real. Like, they have some great pieces on the front end in that front seven. If West Virginia can run the ball, that's where I start to think, okay, this could get interesting. Because if you can control the clock, keep the ball out of Spencer Rattler's hands, and force him to make some mistakes, like, there's going to be a lot of buzz around West Virginia going into this game, and for good reason, because Oklahoma is yet to show us that, like you said, they haven't showed us their Oklahoma yet. They just have all the pieces, all the names, but have yet to put it together. So until they do that, I think this will be a really close game.
Yeah. Are you Oklahoma or are you not Oklahoma?
You got to decide.
Decide that this week. Okay, when we come back, it's one of the reasons I left West Virginia towards the end was we're going to talk West Virginia. Key plays in the West Virginia Tech game. How did they do it? JD's going to break that down in Chalk Talk. This is the big one, too, on 365 Sports, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SICK'EM125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Welcome back into the big one, too, here on 365 Sports. Look, if you have not done it, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's really easy to do. A baby can do it. In fact, many babies do. That's one of the driving forces of YouTube. And, of course, we're brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby here in Waco. Visit shortyspizzashack.com, especially here for game day this weekend. We're Chalk Talk now. JD, you have broken down West Virginia Tech to show how West Virginia beat a ranked opponent, Virginia Tech, who's 2-0, who had upset North Carolina to start the year. How did the Mountaineers pull this off? And not only offense, but defense. There's a lot of different things you go through here in this segment.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to break it down. There was a lot of things West Virginia did well. One of the main ones was running the football. Letty Brown had a career day, over 160 yards on the ground, and they needed it from him to kind of help Jarrett Dagey out and take some things off his plate. So one of the biggest plays of the day, 80-yard touchdown run by my man, Letty Brown, not to be confused with LD Brown, who plays for Oklahoma State. That's super confusing. Letty Brown right here goes 80, and here's why. They run inside zone, meaning for your running back, you have these rules on the inside zone play. You are reading the first down lineman to the play side out. Who's that first down lineman? Play is going this way. This is the play side, so to the right. All this is play side. First down lineman to the play side out. We're just going to count from the center to the first down lineman out, play side, meaning him right here. We're watching him. If he goes upfield right here, we're going to cut up underneath him. If he goes this way, stay on our track. Goes toward the ball, we're staying on our track. So right now, these offensive linemen are going to combo block on him, which is essentially a fancy word for a double team. So he's here, he's here. Now, the combo block kicks in where he will fall off of him and get the linebacker once they push him back. So they're going to drive him back and get him to that second level to give a nice little gap for Letty Brown here. So we'll see it. Boom. Combo block is nice. He's just watching this right here, pressing heels. Center falls off. We got a block here. We got a block here. Safety is flying down because he thinks the ball's going over here. Everyone fits it too late. Letty Brown, see ya. 80 yards. Speed kills. Really, West Virginia did a great job in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. They did a phenomenal job winning at the point of attack on the line of scrimmage. Same rules here. Got a buck block coming across this defensive end. We have our combo block up here. Same rules. First down lineman to a play side out. So it could be him, could be him. He looks like he's a zero nose, meaning he is right face mask to face mask on that center. So it's basically the back's call who he wants to read here. Little bling motion to occupy our linebacker over here, our walk down safety. Buck block right there. He's blocked up at the point of attack. So right now, his read is telling him bounce it this way. Stay true to this way. This is the man he has to make miss because that safety walked all the way up because they're tired of getting beat. They're tired of having them run through the trenches on them and just take care of business up front. So they say, okay, we're going to try to combat that. Letty Brown does a great job of staying on his track, not overcompensating, and then making my man miss right here. Because as a running back, we're going to block everything for you. You got to make the last one miss typically the safety. Sticks with it, runs through arm tackles, finish the run. First and goal. Running behind his pads. And finally, something that I love that West Virginia's kind of starting to implement with their quarterback, Garrett Green, who's like the complement to Jarrett Doege, they'll run some quarterback power with him. He's a good athlete. They like him situationally. Again, just taking something off Jarrett Doege's plate, kind of spreading the wealth offensively. So what you get when you do a quarterback power is you essentially have the extra blocker. So what Nick Saban says is, hey, you're +1 in terms of blockers, and they're -1 in terms of what they have to account for. So all you know in a power scheme is you got a pulling guard. Pulling guard comes right up here. Running back leads up. Gives a play action look. So he's out here. We're manned up here. Run him off. He's just going to fill right up in here. Just follow your big boys. That's the rule. Stay on the inside hip. Follow your big boys. Good job. Fall forward. First down. It was plays like that, Paul. They weren't all game breakers. They weren't all 80-yarders. But just time after time being able to wear down that front seven of West Virginia paid dividends, and we'll see it here in the pass game in a minute, but they were able to just win the line of scrimmage. That's crucial to any football game.
Yeah, and this is what Neil Brown has done everywhere he's been, is establish this kind of an offense, and maybe they're getting there. You mentioned Garrett Green. He's the next guy at West Virginia after Jarrett Doege, and Jarrett Doege in this game, he drove the bus very well. Again, It's not a game where Mountaineer fans are going to look back and remember over their moonshine, man, Jarrett Doege really lit it up against Virginia Tech. But they'll remember the game because they beat Virginia Tech for the first time in I think 6,000 days or something like that.
And that's the beautiful part.
Last time they beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that's the beautiful part. It's the greatest team game of all time. All 11 guys got to do their job. And West Virginia, to this point, in this game especially, did a great job saying, okay, Jarrett Doege, we're going to take some things off your plate, make your job a little bit easier, give you some looks that are going to work. So what they did ask Jarrett Doege to do was run the RPO scheme. So you've got the run game working now. Linebackers are filling down here a little bit more quickly. So we want you to find the open man when they do try to take away the run game. And so credit to Dane Brown and his staff to be able to get this lined up for him. So right here, we have a little curl concept. So his read is right here. If he flies out, we'll hand it. We'll hand the ball because he's filling this occupied space in the box. So if he leaves, there is all this real estate that he would no longer be taking up. If he wants to stutter his feet and say, okay, we're tired of y'all running the ball at us, we're going to try to do something else, he's got a nice little curl route right here. Again, we're talking about real estate. Just find the open gap. And he would leave a lot of it if he doesn't fly out. So right now, he is in a bind because he's dropping. Doege does a great job. Look at all this space. He drops out. He takes too long to get out there. Whole lot of real estate for my man. Does a great job getting some yards after catch. Get in the zone. Help your quarterback out. Get him some stats. Same concept here. Reading these linebackers, if they trigger up, we're pulling and we're throwing. We'll see it right here. Again, they're scared of this. They're scared of all this Letty Brown they've been seeing so far to this point. Guys ripped off an 80-yard touchdown against them earlier in this game. So watch, they triggered right away. Boom, you know right now you are going here with this football. You're on a slant route on the outside. Corner is playing in a leverage he's not able to get to that slant. He doesn't have help inside because they're all worried about filling for that running game. They're seeing him. Look at this. They're all just up there, like dogs to a steak. They just can't help themselves. They're so excited to make a tackle. Again, playing real estate, bunch of real estate in here. Find your man right here, easy pitch and catch. Credit Jarrett Doege for standing in there. He kind of took a shot there at the end of that. You don't have to make a deep throw. He made some deep throws in this game. He had some really impressive throws, but just get it to your guy with a chance to get yards after the catch, get it to him in space, let your athletes work. And then finally, I was really impressed by this because what happens here, same look. He's going to have the slant on the inside. Your linebackers are walking up, trying to stop that run game. What happens, though, is they kind of start to catch on to that. This safety walks up as well. So he sort of sits in that zone where they've been beaten a couple times now on the RPO. Jarrett Doege just holds it a little longer, lets him pass through that window and finds his man. So look, inside zone read, they're filling up, he's filling up, he's filling up. He's kind of got some problems out here. Look, he is right here. So I think an immature Jarrett Doege would have said, boom, get it to my guy. I see the read, see linebackers are up, get it to my guy right away. Easy, quick trigger. Gives his man a second to get past this safety, get into this open window over here, and delivers a strike right here to his guy. This is kind of a tough throw to Jarrett Doege. Had to put it where only his guy could get it. Targeting, will take the free yards.
Very impressive in a game where, again, he's not somebody who's going to throw for 350 yards most games, and played within himself and kept Virginia Tech completely on their toes.
Absolutely, and they did a great job calling the game to kind of complement, okay, if you want to try and play the run, we're going to have the RPO for you right behind your ear. You want to try and keep it all in front of you, that's fine. You want to play on your heels, we'll run the ball right at you with Lady Brown. So they did a great job of kind of giving them a steady dose of both, and like you said, keeping the defense on their heels. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this game. They won it very much so up front with this front seven. West Virginia had 6 sacks against Braxton Burmeister and company. And Braxton Burmeister, pretty decent athlete. Transferred from Oregon, like the dual threat quarterbacks at Oregon. They did a phenomenal job in this defense keeping the Virginia Tech offensive line guessing. Because when you have 3 down linemen, these 3, 1, 2, 3, are all likely bringing pressure. Now, typically in any defensive scheme, you'll usually get a 4th guy. So what this allows you to do is keep this group right here guessing where's that 4th blitzer coming from. Could come from out here, could come from over here and have him fill down right here and have this man right here. Or it could be my man right here who's what we call mugged up, meaning he's like a foot or 2 off the line of scrimmage. He's probably defensive line depth. He could just as easily drop back, and they've done that with him a few times. Not the case here, though. They did a great job confusing the Virginia Tech offensive line. They're trying to run a play-action scheme here. So he comes off. They just account for these 3. They're just worried about the 3 down linemen. They bring him around, and what happens is he blitzes so quickly, he's essentially in the quarterback's lap before the play even gets started. Call it the bandit position. So watch. He's pulling like it's like a power scheme almost, but obviously he's in pass pro. At this point, he is, what do we call that? 2 yards, 3 yards from the quarterback? Tough to throw a ball when you have a grown man sitting in your lap. Beats the block, makes him look silly. That's never fun. That's one of those plays the next day after, whether it's Sunday or Monday, you kind of slouch down in your seat. Like, coach isn't going to like that. We just got our man killed. Another thing they did really well, again, 3 down linemen. Who's blitzing? Is it him? Is it him? He could come. I mean, he could come over here and cover him, and he's coming from depth. Who's it going to be? Right off the edge. And what they did here was they created a mismatch. You have your bandit. This man's 6'2", 225. That is a mountain of a human being, especially for a guy that moves that quickly. Got him matched up on your running back. And what defenses like to do, they say, if we get a defensive end on a running back, we're usually winning. He's not a defensive end, but he's still a really big human being that's trying to knock your head off. Tough for your running back if he's in pass pro. So again, they're just worried about these 5. These 5 are just worried about these 3. You're only blitzing 4. You should be able to only bringing pressure with 4. You should be able to block 4 with 5. Simple arithmetic. They actually have 6 here, you count the back. Not able to do it, eats his lunch. Backs aren't much for pass pro. Depending who you ask, easy money. This was the play that won the game. 4th and goal. Virginia Tech, if they get this, obviously they win the game. West Virginia is trying to defend their end zone at home in Morgantown, ruckus crowd. What I loved so much here was these guys both like they're coming with some pressure. Obviously these 3, they're showing both of these guys coming off the edge hot. Watch him right here. He's going to drop off and just try to contain. They're going to roll out pass play with Braxton Burmeister, which is honestly a pretty good call if you're Virginia Tech. Mobile guy, get him out on the edge. He comes up like he's going to challenge the block, and then he'll fade out right here to try and keep containing, keep Braxton Burmeister from getting himself. So watch. Oh, I'm blitzing. Dies off right away. Good job by that guy right there. Braxton Burmeister now he wanted to keep challenging. He wanted to press the heels of that linebacker. He wanted to press that defense and put him in a bind to where, okay, you either have to try and rush me or drop back and try and cover my receivers. Does a great job of having both right here with the defensive end. You got guys back here. You got guys back here, honestly pursuing. And then obviously tries to make a desperation play. Throw it back across his body. Anytime you throw it back across your body as a quarterback, you're usually not completing it unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Zach Wilson when he was at BYU. Not so much the case anymore, obviously, with him in the pros. But bottom line, they dominated up front offensively and defensively in the trenches, and then allowed Jared Nagy to have enough on his plate to be able to get to their playmakers.
That West Virginia 3-3-5 stack is an interesting defense that they run. It was pretty much developed to combat against the spread because you can do a lot of things with the guys on that second level and move them around the field to deal with the fact that teams are playing guys outside the hash marks. And It's really confusing to watch because you never know where the pass rush is coming from. They mix up their depth and all these different things. There's so many different looks for a quarterback. I love the way the 3-3-5 has worked out, especially for them. They were one of the pioneers of it. Now a ton of people are running the 3-3-5 stack. Baylor runs it. All these teams run it to combat these offenses because, again, you don't really know where people are coming from, and allows you to use those guys, really – the 8 guys in the back, it allows you to move them all over the field, and you really can't, pick up the coverage, or especially you can't pick up the pass rush, and you can win with 4 without having to blitz people and leaving people back in coverage.
Absolutely. With the right personnel, lethal. The speed of West Virginia is what won this game. I mean, they had a lot of guys do some great things up front. Like I said, super physical at the point of attack, but equally important, they had guys coming from depth, coming from different angles, and just kept this Virginia Tech offensive line guessing all game long.
There we go. There's Chalk Talk on West Virginia. Big matchup with Oklahoma this week. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Jack McKenzie. Thanks to JD Bickel. And, of course, thanks to our sponsor, Shorty's Pizza Shack. For more information, go to shortyspizzashack.com. This is the big one, too, on 365 Sports. Like and subscribe, or Santa Claus is not going to come and see you. Thanks a lot, everybody.